Hello and welcome to this video on the CADbert Basics, where we'll review what you need to know in order to get yourself up and running quickly and get started on your first floor plan. So to get started, I am going to click on my CADbert icon, which will bring me to the main screen where you'll find a list of any floor plans that you've already created. On this screen, you can also go up here and pick the settings for the units. So your options are English, which is feet and inches, metric with centimeter resolution, or metric with millimeter resolution. So let's get back out of there. Up in the right hand corner, you'll find a little CADbert icon. If you click on that, you'll see that there's a help that you can access, which is the link to these series of videos. You can report a bug, which will send an email to CADbert support, or you can send a suggestion. Now, I should have mentioned earlier that the cursor that you see in this video is a hand with a finger. The actual Android application doesn't actually have a cursor. We're just using this cursor here to represent where you would touch on the screen. So to get started with the new floor plan, you would go down to the bottom here and click on Enter Floor Plan Name. And we'll give this a name of Basics 1. And we'll click on the plus button here. And this brings you to a menu where it asks for the interior dimensions of your first room. Now, you may have a multi-room floor plan that you wish to do. And at this phase, you just want to start with one room, and you can add the other rooms later. So for now, I'm going to say our first room is 14.5 feet deep, and the width is 12 feet and 5 4/8 inches, which is 5.5 inches. So as you can see, there's multiple ways that you can enter your measurements. Here, I just chose to use decimal for 14.5 feet, and here I independently used feet, inches, as well as eighths. Now down here, you can determine what your room wall thickness is, and you can always change later. So we're going to click Done here, and that will bring up our room. Now to start with, we're in Edit Structure mode, which allows you to enter your any walls that you need, other rooms, windows, and doors. And you'll see up here that there are two other modes, Edit Interior mode, which we'll show you a little later, where you basically enter furniture and other items in your floor plan, and Measure mode, which is just used for making measurements with your existing floor plan. The blue dots shown on the corner here are nodes, and nodes basically represent where the wall changes direction, and you can move those nodes. So for example, if you have an uneven wall, I'm going to exaggerate here, but I'm going to click on the node, select Move. I'm just going to move it relative to itself, and I'm going to move it 1 foot over to the right. So as you can see, that created a slanted wall for us. And if you want to, there's a repeat option here, which highlights every time you do an operation that is repeatable. So if I click on this repeat button, you'll see it'll keep moving it an additional foot over. Now I'm just going to undo what I did here and get back to our original drawing. There we go. Now obviously rooms may have irregular shapes and bump outs and what have you, and you can handle those kind of situations by adding nodes where the wall changes position. So to do that, I'm going to click on this wall, and I'm going to do an add, and I'm going to add a node, and I want to position it 5 feet down from the top. So I'll enter my 5 there, and there's my new node. Now this node is attached to both this wall segment and this wall segment. So you'll see that if I now move this node, I'm going to move it 1 foot to the right. The end of both segments change. Now, in addition to a plain node, there's also something called a split node that you can add. So I'm just going to select this node and change it into a split node. Now, what a split node, the way to think of a split node is that it's creating one node to terminate each segment. So there's one node that's attached to this segment and another node that's attached to this segment. So therefore, you'll see that if I select this segment and I choose to move this segment, I'm going to move it 2 feet over to the left. Then what happens is that it only moved the node associated with this segment, and since it was a split node, the second node remained there, and it drew a line between the two. So you can use split nodes for creating jogs in your wall. Now, since this was a repeatable operation, you can see that this is still highlighted. Repeat is highlighted down here, and you can just cancel out of that by clicking anywhere on the screen. Another thing that you can do is you can use this room and add additional rooms to it. So let's add a room attached to this room. So I'm going to click on this, do an add operation, add a room, and you can see it's showing you the room attached to this wall on the outside. And the first thing that you want to do is enter the dimensions of the new room. So I'm just going to do this dimension as 8 feet wide and 10 feet deep, and I'll leave the same wall thickness as 5, and then do a next. And next you want to position it relative to your first room. So I want to align the outside of this room with the outside of the previous room. So therefore I just need to enter a 0 in this field, click done. And now one thing that you see happen here is that the whole drawing rotated. And here's our new room right here. So the program will automatically rotate your drawing in order to best fit the screen. Now, one new thing that you'll notice on this page is that you have a light blue node, and the light blue nodes represent wall intersections, and you can add new items relative to these intersection nodes, also called reference nodes. Now, other things that you'd want to add while in structure mode are things like doors and windows and openings. So to do that, click on the wall where you want to add the item, and then I'm going to do an add operation. And in the add menu, you can see that there's a series of choices that you have. If you look down the list, you can add, here are doors, electrical items, HVAC, lighting. You can add an opening, and at the very bottom here is window. So for now, let's just add a window. And the first thing that you want to do is enter the width of the window. By default, 28 inches is selected, and we'll just leave that default. And we measured that the wall is located 2 feet and 5 inches from this inside corner. So we'll just go up here and enter 2 feet, 5 inches, and select done. And there we have our window. Next, I'm going to add a door to this wall here. So once again, I click on the wall, select add, And I am going to go down here and select door. And you can see that you get a variety of options for the kind of door. For a single door, it gives you different swing options, left hand in, left hand out, right hand in, right hand out. Now for rooms, these options are from your perspective inside the room. So from inside the room, if I want a door hinged on the right and swinging inward, I would pick right hand in. And there it shows the door on the wall. Now if the door swing isn't quite what you actually wanted, in this menu you can actually change that. You can use the flip option to change the swing from inside to outside, or the rotate option to change the where it's hinged on right and left. And once again, we're going to keep the default width, so we won't change that. Click on next. Now in this case, we want the door center on the wall, and to do that, you just leave these blank and it would automatically be centered on this wall right up here. Next, I want to add an opening between these two rooms that's 5 feet wide and centered on this wall. Now, so I click on the wall. Now, one thing that's important here to notice is that sometimes walls will overlap. For instance, the wall for this room overlaps with this wall here. So you want to make sure that you're selecting the right wall. When you select the wall, the rest of the shape will gray out like this to show you which room the wall is associated with. Now, if I click on this wall again, it'll switch over to the other room, which isn't what I want. So I just click on it again, and I want it relative to this room, so we're all set. So now I do an add operation. I want to add an opening. We said we want now by default, the opening that it will fill in is equal to the entire width of the wall, which is a nice option to have. But in this case, we're not going to do that. We only want it 5 feet wide. So I'm going to hit this clear button to get rid of that measurement. I'm going to enter 5 here and then continue on. And we want to set the position again. Since we're centering it on the wall, we don't need to fill in anything here, and it will automatically be centered on the wall. And one other thing that I'd like to show you are how to use reference nodes. Now, I mentioned earlier that these light blue nodes here are reference nodes, which mean that you can reference other objects relative to them. So, as an example, let's say I want to add something relative to this reference node. So I can click on the node and do an add operation, and I'm going to add a window down here, and it's 28 inches wide. I'll just keep that default setting, and we measured that it's 2 feet over from the other window. So I'm just going to enter 2 here, and there we have our new window, which is a distance of 2 feet over from the edge of that window. So the next thing that I'm going to do here is do a room operation. You can select one of the existing rooms that you already drew by selecting a wall or a corner of that room and picking the select shape option. And you can see that highlighted our selected room in yellow. The reference wall that it's attached to is in dark red, and the shape that this reference wall belongs to is highlighted in lighter red. So here's a list of the different operations I can perform on the room. I am going to click on wall thickness. It's currently 5 inches. I'm going to clear that, change that to 8 inches, and the thickness of all the walls of the room is changed. Now, one thing that you'll note here is that when you change the wall thickness, the interior dimensions of the room remain the same. So therefore, as you can see relative to this wall, the thickness increased outwardly in order to maintain the interior dimensions of the room. I am going to undo our wall thickness operation, and let's move on to furnishing our floor plan. So to do that, click up here on this menu and select Edit Interior. And now you can see all the blue dots from the structure mode are gone. And I'm going to add a sofa relative to this wall. So I'm going to click on that wall, do an add operation, and here's a list of all the different things I can add relative to that wall. I want to add a couch, so I'm going to select seating, and I'm going to pick this couch here at the bottom. And when the couch comes up, it'll have some default dimensions that you can change. For this demo, I'm just going to leave those dimensions. And in this case, I want to center the couch on the wall. And to do that, I can just leave these fields blank. And I'm going to put the couch 3 inches from the edge of the wall. Select Done. And there I have my couch. So now that I have my couch placed here, I can use this as a reference. So for placing other objects. So if I want to place a sofa table in front of the couch, I will click on the couch and do an add operation. The couch becomes red to indicate that it's a reference. Since I want to add a sofa table, I will pick the table category, and I'm going to just pick this rectangular table. And this menu, you select which edge of the couch you want to reference. I'm referencing the front edge, so I will select that. And this red line represents the front edge of the couch. I'm going to set my dimensions. So in this case, my table is 18 inches deep and 5 feet wide. And now I want to place it relative to the front edge of the sofa table. I want to center it, so therefore I'm going to leave these blanks and it will automatically center it. And I want it 18 inches from the front edge of the sofa. Click Done, and there I have my sofa table. CADbert also supports grouping. So if I want to group these two objects together, I just go down to the bottom here, select Group, and then select the objects that I want to group. So I'll select this, and it draws a rectangle around the group. And when I'm done, I pick the Group button again. And from here, you see my options. I can move the group, copy it, delete the objects, or save. So these first 3 operations are temporary, meaning that once I do the operation, the group dissolves. But if I want to save this as a permanent group, I can just click down here and do the save. So now when I click over the group, it will select the group, and I can do an operation on the group. Let's do a move. I'm going to do relative to self, and I'm going to move it 6 inches forward. And this operation is repeatable, so if I do a repeat, it'll keep nudging it 6 inches forward. I'm just going to undo those operations and move it back to its original position here. Now, if you wanted to select an object within the group, you go ahead and hover over that object. First, it selects the group, but if you click again, it will select the object itself. Another way to add objects is by going down to the Add icon here and picking what you want to add from the list. You can see there's extensive libraries for bath, bedroom, appliances. You can add text, furniture, seating, etc. And I'm going to add a lamp for now. I'm just going to do the shaded lamp, and I'm going to do it relative to a wall or node. Now what's unique with doing the add this way is that these reference nodes will show up. A reference node references either the edge of a wall item such as a window or door, or it can also reference a T-intersection. So I'm going to select this node here and click next, and here's the node I selected represented here, and I'm just going to keep the default width of 20 inches, and I'm going to position it 6 inches away from the wall and 1 foot from the edge of the window here, and click done, and there we have our lamp. Another unique feature in CADbert is the ability to attach notes to any object that you want. So for example, if I click on this lamp here, I can do an attach note, and I can enter in a free-form note of anything that I like. So for example, I can say needs 2 100-watt light bulbs. Click on done. Now if I want to later go back and view the note, I can click on that, go to the view menu, and in addition to looking at the object's dimensions and position information, I can look at the note, and there we have our note that we entered. Now, since your floor plan is stored on your device, you can access measurement information wherever you are. So I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to go into measurement mode. Now, in measurement mode, you don't risk changing the position of anything. This is more of a viewing mode, but you can take different clearance measurements. For example, if I click on the coffee table and do a start operation, that creates the coffee table as my anchor point for measuring. Now, if I click on different objects, I can see what the clearances are around the coffee table to different walls and what have you. And I'm going to click on done to get out of there. And in addition to clearances, you can always go in and I'm going to do info on this, and it will give you the width and depth information. Or in the case of the lamp, as we noted earlier, we did attach a note, so notes will appear under here that we can click, and we can refer back to our these two 100-watt light bulbs. Now in measure mode, notes are about the only thing that you can edit. So while you're in measure mode, you can just go in here and change it however you want, and that will be saved. And if you wish to share your floor plan outside of the application, you can go up here and do an export operation, and you can export it in CADbert format. If you wanted to say mail it to someone else who has CADbert and they can simply import it into their CADbert. You can export it as a print size SVG if you want to print it, or you can export it as a full size SVG, which will retain all the measurement information, and you can open it up in a different CAD program if you so desire. I'm now going to exit back to our main menu, and you can see that our Basics 1 floor plan is now in the list of floor plans. And from here, you can enter directly into any one of the 3 modes that we reviewed, the Edit Interior mode, Edit Structure, or Measure mode. You can make a copy of this if you wanted to, say, do a backup or modify it from an existing point. Rename it. You can do the export operation from here, or you can just delete it from the list. Thank you for watching this CADbert video. You can find additional resources on our website or additional training videos on our YouTube channel.